Hi, my name is Emilio Cervantes. I am with Real Temp Instruments, and I want to welcome you to our new edition of Between Two Windrows. I'm here with
George Rayborn, Operations Supervisor.
here at Republic Services in Monmouth, Oregon.
Monmouth.
Monmouth, which is great. It's okay. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. And we just want to talk today. It's actually probably one of the largest windrow compost facilities in the Pacific Northwest. It's hybrid as well too. You have an ASP system as well.
Yep.
So I wanted to talk with you, George, a little bit on your experience. How did you start, with Republic Services? Give us a little bit about that background and how you ended up here running this awesome site.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I actually found this site, working at it for a different company. I was driving truck for actually one of their competitors, Warner, and then I used to come out here and move this material with just a regular dump truck. I got to know everybody out here, got to like everybody, and then a position opened up. So I hired on as an operator for the landfill, and then I transferred over here as an operator, and eventually I ended up moving to the hauling division in Corvallis, which is, 10 miles away, and worked there as a driver for 12 years. And then the opportunity came up out here again, and I always liked it out here, so I put in for the position, got it, and the rest is history.
Awesome. And how long you been running this operation?
About a year and a half now.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And so when you first started, what were some of the things that caught your attention that you felt that you could make some improvements on?
Gosh, not necessarily the first things, but once I went to the class, I actually started learning about composting and what was required, what needed to be done, and now that's evolving. Once I went to that class and I found, the probes and seeing how we were doing it, we were doing it manually, sticking each one of these long windrows 8 times a day, manually writing it on a piece of paper, then manually inputting it into a spreadsheet on the computer. It was super labor intensive, and it was a giant waste of time. That was the biggest thing that I noticed that we needed to change out here. Some of the other stuff is, it's a really wet area. We get a lot of rain, so we're blessed in one sense where it's a great place to make compost because we got enough moisture. But the other part is it's the worst place to try to screen because we have a very, very narrow window of screen season. So that's the two main things that we're trying, so I ended up getting a shaker deck, to try to run that in the wintertime. We've had our struggles with it, but we're working things out.
Okay, great. So most of your feedstock is pretty consistent. Is it coming in from, for example, landscapers, or is it more bulk and, haulers from like a MRF facility? Where's all this coming from?
Yeah, so we don't take any public, and landscaper would be considered public. We don't take any of that here, so that has to go to a MRF. And so then we receive loads from MRFs from all over, from the coast, Portland, Salem, Albany. We do take commercial trucks, so the regular route trucks can come in here and dump. But if you got to get out and hand unload or anything like that, we don't take any of that. But all those people go to the other sites, and then it ultimately winds up here.
Yeah. So you process quite a bit of tonnage here. I understand it's more than 100,000 tons a year.
It's pretty standard, about 125,000 tons a year.
Okay, pretty consistent.
Yeah, pretty consistent, yeah.
Okay, great.
It's a lot.
I mean, was that a little intimidating when you started with very little knowledge in the compost process with the PFRP and VAR and all that regulatory side of things? And not only that, but producing good quality compost?
Yeah, and it still is a bit intimidating. I mean, the stuff never stops coming in. It's hard to move, it's hard to get it clean. It's hard to have that market for it. And, but yeah, boy, I learned a lot. I didn't think it was as involved as it is.
Yeah. What's one of the satisfactions for you in this role, in leading in this facility that you get to take home with you every single day?
I guess it's the the drive, the grind, because it never gets stagnant, because there's always I got that new water truck yesterday. Broke down on me today going to get fuel. Brand new, right?
It's always something.
Yeah, it's always something, right? So it doesn't get old, doesn't get stagnant. I mean, even though we do the same thing, the operators might say something different, because you can only move, build this windrow and that windrow and then pick it up and then do it all over again. It does get kind of old, so we try to set goals, screen goals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of try to challenge ourselves to, get more throughput through the grinder every day. But it's been a challenge, that's for sure. It's satisfying taking stuff that would usually be thrown away and turning it into a usable product.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You have quite a bit of large equipment on site.
Oh yeah.
How is that, in terms of maintaining them, running it? How's that for you?
It's a struggle. We have a lot of equipment, a lot of specialized equipment too, and not everybody knows how to work on that equipment. So, it's like anything else. We got a pretty good group of mechanics, but they're stretched thin. So we have to rely on a lot of outside help, to get stuff done, and with trying to balance it all the time.
Right.
I think we're in a pretty good place right now. Most everything's good to go.
Yeah.
So
it seems to me, and not only to me, but to a lot of people in the industry, Republic Services, a leader in many areas, right, within our own space. And they pride themselves, in leading technology, and supporting a lot, their team. And I think in this process of you implementing the Compost Watch cloud system here, it seemed like you had a lot of support.
Oh yeah.
From the people that you work with every day or report to, and even back in corporate. How was that process for you? It was a lot of fun getting that all figured out. But yeah, I had great support. I mean, everybody that I talked to within the company was like, wow, this is a great idea, Yeah.
And that's really what they were kind of hoping, is to get somebody new and come up with new ideas, because this facility's been doing everything a certain way for a long period of time, with not a whole lot of changes, and to find new ways to save money, because there's not a lot of money in compost. It's really not. There's a lot of material and hard to get rid of it. So anything we can do to cut costs and streamline the operation is something that my upper management was like excited about.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I think the decision-making process was less than 2 weeks. And for a facility of this size, the size of the investment, why do you think it was so quick and within 2 weeks to make that decision and implement it?
I just, when, the accountants and upper management started looking at the numbers on what we were going to save, they were wanting to jump all over it, and it was early enough in the year that they could capture some savings that year.
Yeah.
And so they tried to get it through as fast as they could so that we could start paying that system off, in in a hurry.
Right, right. And it's been here now for over a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty reliable,
What did
you
we
will
do?
say?
We launched it in what, July,
I think it was right after
like June?
the second week of 4th of July, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's super reliable. You know, real easy to use, which is like super, you know, important for me, because you know, any of the operators that I've shown the system, it's so they're like, oh, okay, this is, you know,
Yeah.
I can show them one time and
Yeah.
they've got it.
Yeah.
But we have no issues with
Yeah.
the system at all. It's
Yeah.
been, as soon as we plugged it in,
Yep.
we went live. You know, of course, we had to set some adjustments so I don't get, you know, 200 emails a day if my material's too hot or too cold, right?
Right.
We had to reset some parameters, but
Yeah.
outside of that, it's been great.
Yeah. What would you say if you had to give some advice to some of the colleagues here, you know, within Republic Services and also nationally, you know, in terms of team management, material handling, equipment maintenance, implementing a system like this? What kind of advice will you give them? And even for some people that maybe just be starting off.
Oh, geez. Gosh, stay on top of it. I mean, gosh,
Stay on top of it.
you know, if you're gonna get equipment, make sure it doesn't matter how expensive the piece of equipment is, how new it is. If you don't have support for that equipment, you know, get something else, right? So, you know, you've been great support. I got great support out of like Vermeer, but I do have some equipment on site that there's almost no support for, and I won't throw any names out there, but you know, that would be probably my biggest advice to anybody that's getting started on something like this. Make sure it's equipment that's supported locally.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's a great advice. I mean, you started a year and a half ago in compost. Will you say it's more than what you imagined it would be in terms of hands-on?
oh yeah, absolutely. There's never enough hands, you know. So yeah, I'm all the time having to, you know, me and the head of maintenance been crawling all over our screen back there trying to get it running, and which I don't mind. I like doing it. Actually, I wish I had more time to do the stuff out here than having to be in the office or on the phone or in meetings, stuff like that, because you know, there's more than enough work to do out here that a lot of times it can be overwhelming for the guys, and you know, I'm sure they would say that I'm not out here enough, you know.
So would you say, at least in terms of, you know, implementing the Compost Watch cloud, Republic Services have seen benefits in terms of the efficiency now within this space and actual tangible real money savings as implemented?
Yeah, I believe so. And you know, I think it's pretty evident because there's more of our facilities going that way.
Okay. Yeah, we are working with others, across the country. That's true.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just it would be pretty hard not to see the cost savings because of what we were spending in labor prior. You know, I actually, you know, have a couple positions that we don't even have anymore because we were able to, you know, do away with some of the stuff we were doing, and we don't need people for that anymore.
Right.
So
right. So, I guess the last question that I would have, where do you see this facility in the next 5 years? Where do you see compost in general in the next 5 years?
Well, hopefully we see, you know, a little thinner material coming in, but In 5 years, I'd like to see this place redeveloped, with more improvements to the property, so we can have a cleaner product. And I have ideas on some other stuff that I want to do that drive my supervisors crazy, because it's like we already got enough to do, but at the same time, like, could almost make this place completely self-sustained if we made some investments in some other equipment. And some people are going that way, but it's still new, right? So but that would be my goal, is to make it more streamlined, more efficient, and have the site improvements done that make it easier for us to screen more year round, and less wear and tear on the equipment. So
You see those improvements and that need for that improvement across the country as other probably operators face the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, outside of like the new, I know that we're standing up new places all the time. So when they're new, they got all the new latest and greatest, and maybe a little more modern planning. And whatnot. This is an old site. It's been here a long time. So, but it's a big site, and it's pretty efficient. I mean, we can take yard debris and turn it into sellable compost in about 50 days.
Wow.
So it's pretty fast.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, George, we want to thank you so much again.
Yeah. Thank you,
for having this amazing site. There's been much improvement even for I've been here over a year ago. We wish you all the best, and keep checking those temps on your cell phone when you need to.
Yeah.
But thanks. We've been working with Republic Services for a very long time. We've been partners, for a very long time, and we're excited for the future together.